A heart is a house for love, and I know that it don't take much to break a... I don't know where that came from, y'all. So good. So good. I can't even hold it. It's Saturday, June 14th, about 1:30. And I have been at this since today, at least, since 8 a.m. I started at 8 a.m. sharp. I've had some dance breaks. I ate breakfast. I've been staying hydrated. But today is a breakthrough day, and I'm so grateful to God because I made a very specific prayer before I went to bed, like, please, God, send all your angels and all your wisdom to help me get through this audit for my book and course. For full transparency, I've been working on this project. It's been working on me. I've been living it, I would say, for the last 5 years. I started really teaching specifically through the framework and about, like, formally in 2020, end of 2021 into 2022. Outside of just like through my academy, I started actually teaching it, offering workshops, trainings, facilitating sessions. And what happens, just if I'm being honest, what happens is when you have a framework, it should be your core foundation, and it has been. But as I've grown and as my business has grown and as I've had new experiences, very often it's so easy to veer away from that and start like substituting or filling in based on the needs of your expansive opportunities. So for me in that case, like as I got exposed to workforce development as my core focus, as I leaned heavier into education as my core space, I didn't necessarily shift from framework. I just started to work outside of it, where really if I had stayed within the lens, this work wouldn't have been so much of a heavy lift to formally update the framework. So while, again, everything that I was teaching was rooted in it, I wasn't coming back and spending the time necessary to like annotate the changes and modify from the information that I received in an official way so that my team and I could like stay rooted in that framework. And that's okay. That's a part of growing. But what used to be, let's see, this is pretty close. This used to be my framework, the 4 seasons of creative flow, and then inquisitive season being a season of discovery, and then like these, again, like simple 3 steps that would, at the end of going through this process, you would produce if I was coaching my client, I would produce in partnership with them, or if I had someone going through a training session, if I was facilitating a workshop with an organization, then they would walk away with the necessary pieces to put together their own strategic plan for the year ahead, this creative living plan, which is formulated based on the information that we walk through here. So without getting too stuck on all of that, it's needed a proper audit and an update for quite some time. And now that I'm writing a book, I'm forced to do it. I kind of I know I see God's design, but I chose to hire my book coach and my course agency at the same time and stagger them 1 month apart so that I could look at audience A for the book, which is the reader. They're not looking necessarily to have done all of the deep work. They want to understand the framework, but they more importantly want to get a quick win, a way to serve themselves and get through the muddy waters of navigating change and using creative energy and potential to be a vessel for that, for coming out on the other side, having alchemized it and being powerful in ourselves again. Okay, so the course, however, requires much more deep work. specific case studies, action steps that required me to look at this and say, this is great, right? It's great. And I've been teaching it. Woo woo. But we got to go deeper and pull out all of the examples of use cases from my client work that can become applicable and relevant to my audience for the course, which the course for me is the person that, yes, picks up and reads the book and says, I'm ready to do this thing and I want to go further. It's also for organizations that are looking to inspire creativity within their spaces, to build up those leaders who know how to problem solve and go inward and then reconnect their why to the bigger why, to our society, to, in some cases, the business's mission, but in other cases, the ecosystem and community that you dwell in. So, quick little overview of what I've been up to. Again, this is that. So I decided to take and print my framework document empty and just pen to paper it. Is it really this anymore? And then I found that there was some information that needed to be pulled out of one season and kind of taken into the foundations or the introduction here. So as I worked on that, I love pen and paper, but I also need a vast whiteboard, and my whiteboard on wheels couldn't handle all this. So I've been working in my Miro board, or Miro board, my pronunciation, excuse me. But I've been working in my Miro board to take and draft this out. Let me see if I can give you a close up to it. You know what? I'll edit it in. I'll give you just a quick little screen recording of what that process has looked like.
Green jungle and dreams are made of, you're nothing you can't do. In New York, these streets will make you feel brand new. Make life will inspire you.
But in a nutshell, what was this then became this, then became all of that on that board, which then allowed for me to take, and this is a snapshot of what's on the board here, which allowed for me to take every season from the foundation, which is, these are all existing trainings as well, so I'm not starting from scratch at 8 a.m., but take every single one and get to work on making the changes, the modifications, the edits to the activities within each of those 4 pillars. So I have been color coding, moving things like a mad scientist in here. And I finally think I'm ready to take another stab at updating the framework, the method that is creative flow alchemy. I'm so proud of myself. This is taking some major discipline, and it's also opening up my heart in a way that I haven't allowed or just had space to with this work in a long time, because I've just been going. But taking the last few months for myself, it's been so expansive and so healing. And honestly, it's the foundation for anything that I can do for anybody else, is to take care of myself in that way, get inspired again, and walk myself through my own process, because I live this. And so do you. Whether you language it or call it this or not, we live this process. My hope is that when people see it, and they see it broken down step by step, that they can start to reconnect and recognize themselves through creative flow alchemy, and lean into it time and time again whenever they're navigating change. One of my favorite parts about this iteration is that I took some time to pull out what used to live in the first season, the inquisitive season. I pulled it out into the introduction, because it really has, it needs its own space all on its own. And that is this discussion of type of change. And one thing that I really appreciate, there is a transition theory. It talks about there being 3 types of transitions. These 3 transitions are ones that we expect or anticipated transitions. So a good example of that might be, I'm moving to a new city, I'm retiring, I'm starting a new job. These are things that we can plan for, we can anticipate. And the second type of transition is a type of transition that is one that we do not anticipate, like being fired or laid off, right? A breakup, a sudden breakup. Those are the death of a loved one. Those trigger a totally different set of emotions. And so that class of change is something that, we want to treat differently within this framework. And then the third type of change is one that is, let me see, I want to use the exact language, is non-normative transition. So if it helps, I like to call them, I put some common lingo to make this a little bit more digestible. So I call anticipated transition, here we go, or LFG, change, right? Let's get it. I call unanticipated transition, what the helly, change, right? Like, caught me off my guard, right? Caught me off guard. And the third change is like, get the out of here, or I know you lying, change, right? Because it's such extreme change. And this third type of change or transition, non-normative transition, it's the type that does not follow your typical life, courses such as like a serious illness or a disability. And I added, or like a pandemic, which means that we all navigated this change collectively. So as I go through that particular intro to the book, I've started moving what I once thought would be these case studies that started at the inquisitive season a little further back into my introduction so that I can talk about the clients, my peers, my colleagues, and organizations that had to, I kind of identified which of those three types of change that they were navigating when I met them and entered their world, or when I started studying them, because there are some people in this book that I don't personally know, right? But they are public figures. And so I'm tracking their journey and navigating it through one of those three types of transitions, and then dropping it into these 4 seasons of creative flow that we can watch their transformation take place, whether it be and I'll name one in particular, my good friend Veronica, who lost her grandmother to dementia and then became a full-time caregiver, had to give up her entire world, her job, her career. I've told this story many times, but to move home to take care of her grandmother, and then discovered while doing so that her mother also had dementia. So she's a full-time caregiver and has then since then formed an amazing organization to support other caregivers. So Veronica lives in that second tier of change, that unanticipated change, right? Where, wow, my whole life is just blown up. How do I meander and navigate this? How do I take care of myself? How do I get the support I need? How do I lean into my strengths? How do I pull from, my community for the areas that are opportunities that I can't fill on my own? And then what is the result of that? Because ultimately the result is the reason why people will pick up the book. They want to have solutions of transformation. They want to transform their lives, their careers. They want to see through the lens of possibility. And that is pretty much what Veronica's story represents. And I'm excited to really share it in this book and in this course as a digestible case study, because now when you look at her journey of starting Dementia Care Warriors, you'll be able to go back to the beginning and see, the inquisitive season. Okay, that's when she was really curious about, as a current caregiver, I am struggling right now to find the resources that I need to take care of my mom, and these are things that I had to go through on my own when I went through, caring for my grandmother, that I wish I'd known, and I've just on my own had to figure this out. So that being her inquisitive season. And then as she started collecting and pulling these resources together and asking herself, what would happen if other people could get this easier than I had to? What if their journey could be supported in a faster, more efficient way? What if they could have some advocacy from people like me who get it, being that inspire season? And then when it was time for her to actually like put some formality to it, it's now, whether it be I'm going to go ahead and form the nonprofit as an official organization, or I'm just going to beta test a gathering, a support group, that really being her intuitive season. And then when it was time to, really show up in the world as a founder of Dementia Care Warriors, that being like representation of her in intentional season. So I'm really excited. I mean, this framework can be applied to any type of change. And as a method, it can walk you through this journey wherever you are, coming out with an actual creative plan, a strategic plan for your year ahead that encompasses your values, your strengths, your ecosystem, your passion and interests, and ultimately, like, really, what are those core areas that you see as opportunities that you want to pick as your core either focus or project for the year ahead. So I'm so excited to do this. I've done this one-on-one with clients since 2020, and if I'm honest, many years before, but since the official language of Creative Flow Alchemy was born in 2020, I've worked with hundreds of individual clients, thousands of participants in workshops and in sessions, and I feel like I feel like I'm just getting started. So I say this with excitement and passion and joy and exhaustion and lots of tears and lots of sacrifices, lots of time alone. This is my heart's work. This is why I'm here. And I've been doing a lot of things that are adjacent to this work that ultimately I will have the space to pour back into once I get this work done. And one final kind of honest time, reflection I would like to share going through this process is I look at the people who inspire me, a lot of them in this book, in this course, these case studies, and some that are just people who I've had the pleasure to interact with and work with in my career or in relationships, or maybe that, again, just inspire me from books and stages. And there is one thing that really stands out for me when I think about them and their success and where I am and maybe where you want to be and where you are. And that thing is that we all have our own divine time. We are on no one else's timeline, and it excites me to see the people around me win and shine in their season, because somewhere they were doing their work. And so it's important to do your work wherever you are. And if you're unsure about what your work is, I'm creating this for you because I remember what it felt like to have pieces and glimpses, but not the whole picture. And this is just going to teach you one more and most important thing that I could ever offer, which is how to go inward, pull it out, align with God, align with Source, and then share that creative expression with the world, no matter what it is. Thank you in advance for the support and the love, because I know that this is going to reach so many people who need it like I needed it. And thank you to my clients and my colleagues and my peers who have agreed to let me interview them and share their stories in this process. I'm so honored. I'm learning about myself. I feel born again. I feel new. I have all the energy that I've been lacking. I don't feel like I'm pushing through. I feel like I am officially getting ready to hold my baby. So stay tuned. Thank you.